Okay, so why don't we call to order? Hold on, great. Great, so let's begin. We have a call to order at, do you have the time?
6:05.
6:05, great. Public comment period. Do you want to just roll that into the agenda, or did you have comments you want to make up front?
Do you want to do your stuff up front, Dave?
Sure.
We can just move right to old business and then go straight to parks updates. Is that why we're on here? Does that sound good?
That's why Dave's here anyway.
That sounds great. Let's just, if everyone's all right with that, we'll move straight ahead to item 6, parks update first, and then we'll go back and do it in order. Okay, sounds great. So, parks update. Universal fishing platform and ramp updates.
Okay. Kristen knows more about the actual work on the ramp. She asked me to come and update you on the memorial for Pete.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Pete Domenico.
Still useful.
We did have, finally, we had the gathering up there
on Saturday.
At the park last Saturday for both Frank Bonacontro and Pete Domenico, who were both very active in the New Haven River Anglers. And Frank died 2 years ago, and Pete died on Christmas, as you all know. So anyway, we've been kind of planning that, and the platform had taken a big hit last year, so we didn't do it, but we did. There were probably 30 people. It was very informal, with just people who knew him mostly through fishing, you know, and family and friends. Yeah. There was no program, just a bunch of stories. And as you who knew Pete can and even more about Frank.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was a good time. So we had a group of half a dozen people. Kristen has been with us who've discussed what to do to honor Pete. Between his estate and the River Watch, who are collecting donations in his memory, we have over $5,000. The little plaques that we put up for Frank and Chuck Baser in the past cost $600 or $800. So we have considerably more than that. And what we've decided to do is to put a boulder. Ed Germont, who lives in Bristol, is a friend of mine, and spent his career working for Rock of Ages in Barrie. Knows a lot about monuments, and in fact, he designed and put in the panther that's down at Middlebury College. Ed was involved in doing that. So he's very knowledgeable about it. No, he's been very helpful to us. So we picked out a boulder. It's approximately, I should have got the exact measurements, but it's approximately 3 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet. Mm-hmm. And it was a type of stone and had a good surface that will lend itself to sandblasting and then inscribing the words of Pete into it. And we had good input from the New Haven River Anglers and several other friends of Pete's, and came up with what we planned to put on the stone. And it was actually from a filmed interview with Pete. I don't remember exactly.
I think it was the Lake Champlain Basin program.
I think that's right, yeah. Yeah, so this, and we've also picked a spot. If any of you have been up to Eagle Park lately, you notice there's a stick in the ground with a piece of orange tape on it. And I still don't know for sure who put that there.
I think it was the survey crew for Milo.
That's what I would guess. Yeah. It was LaRose survey.
Where approximately is that? Where's the stick?
It's right in the little plot of grass where the picnic table is, where the kiosk is.
Yeah.
And that is where we looked at as a potential good place for this. And it's almost exactly where that stake is kind of what we pick as a spot. But we haven't wanted to put any big rocks there until we know what the stick's there for. But when you're walking down the path, it would be just within, from here to that table or closer from the path, and you'd look right over it. You'd be looking down the garden and right up the river to Mount A. So it's a nice setting.
Nice. Do you want to read to us what will be on the stone?
Yes. And again, this is a quote from Pete, and it's going to be about a 2-inch inscription. Font is the word. And it's going to say, "When I leave this planet, I want to make sure that I've made my little difference for this river." Pete the Mint.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice, sweet and simple.
Yeah, so that's what the plan is. Ed's talked with the people at Memorial Sandblast, is a company down in Barrie, and he's sent the information to them, waiting for a layout of a stencil pattern with a 2-inch block font. And he anticipates that we'll get to review that, and make changes or suggestions to make sure that it's set up properly. They will come and get the stone, which we found right over by the town garage.
Oh, by the dump.
We looked everywhere. We found lots of stones. Ed knew which ones would hold the with sandblasting, and then the carving would stand up the best. And it's just sitting in a pile of rocks right off on the back of the town garage, right over here where the old
Lots of conservation.
Yeah. And Eric's been very cooperative. The town's been cooperative, willing to help us move stones around and all. The people from Barrie will come and get the stone, take it over there, prepare it, and inscribe it.
I missed the very beginning. It sounds like instead of a plaque, you have a stone that it's going to get sandblasted with this inscription.
Exactly.
Wow. That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. So,
Do they have a sense for the timing, or?
well, it seems to be moving pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They're already got the information over there at Barrie. So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it's going to get done this fall.
Okay.
I also might have missed this. Any conversation about the cost? I'm just curious as to that option versus, say, a plaque. Maybe it's equivalent.
It's going to be more than a plaque, but we have the money that was given in Pete's,
Sure.
from Pete's estate and from Riverwatch in contributions.
This is my own curiosity.
Yeah.
Is it like twice as much, 3 times as much?
We haven't got the price yet, but we think it will be probably no more than $2,000.
Okay.
That's excellent. I like it.
Any other questions?
We had talked, I think, when the plaque for Frank was put up, about a process possibly for people wanting to put memorials at Eagle Park. We really haven't touched back on that at all. That sounds wonderful. I'm just wondering if anyone wanted to touch back on about, in general, that idea of, should we have a process? Should we just, if people want to put plaques, we should just agree if it sounds good? Like, do we have a sense of that? I'm with this, obviously, this is wonderful. But just like in general, right? Should we have a system?
Do you interact with the select board regularly, Alex?
Not so much recently because I haven't needed to, but my experience with this has been people wanting to put plaques on like the benches in the town green.
Yeah.
And some of them they already have plaques, so people are wondering like, hey, how can I get a plaque? And so we basically just went to the select board and asked the person who was interested to kind of write up a little bit about why they would like to, and trying to keep it relevant to the town green. You know, not just like, oh, we just want this person's name wherever we can get it. It's because they, you know, came to this park for however many years or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's something we've dealt with fairly like within the past year.
I think it would be a courtesy at least to ask Valerie if it's important enough to rise to the level to be put on the agenda for the select. Maybe with your brief write-up of what the inscription is and where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were doing the thing for Frank, within this committee, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Right. We never really decided anything.
It was pretty, well, you know, the thing with Pete, I mean, I could see, you know, we don't want plaques everywhere. First of all, if they're expensive, so you're not going to do it unless, you know, somebody's backing it. And I did actually talk with Susan Bonacontro, Frank's widow, and with Fred Baza, Chuck's dad, about this, and said, you know, this is going to be bigger, you know. The other two people were very involved with the anglers, but nobody was as conservation involved as Pete.
Yeah.
And the town, I mean, they dedicated the yearbook to it. So I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
And they already know what we're doing and are very cooperative. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. I'd kind of, you know, policies constrict unless they're necessary.
I'm in full support. Is that where we're at? And then does it go to the select board?
Support of what?
Of their continuing forward with the project?
With this, yes.
Yeah. In terms of the sort of more immediate conversation of what about plaques going up here or there, I mean, it seems obvious that there's some long-term involvement with, you know, whether it was the town green or in this case Pete's many years of oversight with all that took place up at the park and that sort of thing. So, you know, it's a case by case for sure.
But I think there should be a protocol. This is my so you can't just miss your plaque, make a beautiful plaque and staple it to a tree at Sycamore Park.
Well, I completely agree with you.
I think there should be some kind of policy.
It's the question if it rises to, are there that many requests such that we need to go forward with a policy? I mean, we always get to that point at some point. You know, there's enough that you have to put a policy in place, you have to have some kind of rules, you know, stuff rises to that level, but I don't know, I don't have enough experience to say we're there yet.
Would it be appropriate to decide if we would approve for Pete and then we have a separate discussion of maybe going forward with these kinds of requests? Maybe just put a note, we could discuss it maybe outside of the context of Pete for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Would that be appropriate?
Sure.
Okay, great. So, should we approve or disapprove of this rock? What do you think? Are we in favor?
I think we're in favor.
We're in favor? Okay, great. That sounds good then. Okay.
Thanks, Steve, for doing all the work.
Yeah, right? It's going to be beautiful.
A lot of the work. One other, just on in the same place, a note is, I don't know where the money would come from, but that picnic table really needs to be upgraded.
It's kind of bowed.
I mean, it's it's walked very bad. Plus, I noticed one of the seats is really rotting away and dangerous to sit on it for splinters, not that it'll collapse. So, and you know, I think you could probably just have the planks replaced. They were green when. I gotta admit that Pete and I built the thing. But if you know Pete, he was the boss. he bought the lumber. But anyway, it'd be nice to have that picnic table, and it, you know, it's set up with the extension so that a wheelchair can get there. And I see people using it.
People do
with
use
their
it.
wheelchairs.
Yeah.
That's worthy of discussion because we've expended some funds recently for the Bristol Trail Network and the what do they call that? The intern, a certain
Pollinator garden.
person. Yeah.
This
But
would
maybe
be
that
Alex.
could be.
He can tell us about the price of wood.
Really good. Expensive right now.
Yeah,
Is
well, we
the answer.
can. It doesn't have to be necessarily immediately, and we're kind of finishing up the higher occupancy season, and so I would think that maybe as a spring, because we have on the agenda for projects, but we should almost have a sense of a budget of maintenance as one of those line items, maybe within our budget. We have certain fees that have to go towards.
We don't have a very big budget though.
No, I know that we don't.
We don't
It's
really-
all of $400. But what I'm saying is, some sense of categories within that budget and priority, allotment. So.
Yeah. Alex, what happens when you do the picnic tables around here? I've seen you working on this before.
Yeah, so that one there used to be at the pull-off right before Sycamore Park. There were two there, and so we took both of them back here and took out the old, rotted out wood. They were really bad. They were unusable. And bought new wood, and then with one of the summer camps they helped us drill the holes and measure it out and put it in, and so now one is back there, and then one we kept here just because we needed more seating near the park, and that one got used over the summer a lot. So I can check in with Meredith and see where that lumber cost got put into, if we kind of snuck it into the camps budget because it was part of the camp we used as an educational thing, or if it was from parks, like something like that. So let me make a note of that.
I wonder too, this one looks like it has a metal frame, so I'm
Yes.
guessing you take the boards out and put new ones in.
Yeah.
Is that
So that's
what the
why
local park is like, or is it more like this kind where it's
It's
made
like
of-
this.
Yeah.
It's like this, but it's sturdy and good shape, except for the
Is it the tabletop as well as the bench seating?
well, the tabletop has a real warp to
So
it.
that's highest priority, and then the benches are
And the
also
bench,
bowed.
well, the benches at the same time, but
If you're
one of
doing
them
it.
definitely needs to be
Yeah.
replaced. So the whole, all the flat surface.
So really just the structural support.
It's
So
good. But that would be good, and there's got to be somebody that can do that for a reasonable cost.
Yeah.
Some are working kids and things. It isn't. They're put in with the screws, so it'll be easy to take it apart and
Right.
replace
Right.
the things.
Yeah.
And there's going to be money left over in Pete's fund too, if it came to that. Okay, thanks.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, so what else about Eagle? More about Eagle, right? Ramp at Eagle.
The ramp and Eagle, the engineers have completed the survey and they're working on the design, and they will present to the select board on the 27th of September their preliminary designs, and they may have a few options. So if we want to tune into that select board meeting, we'll get the details.
Excuse me, may I ask just to clarify what the ramp is for and where is it?
Yeah, so there's a universal fishing platform at Eagle Park, and it was damaged in the Halloween storm 2019, and that was a FEMA declaration of emergency, so there are FEMA funds that have been directed toward some of those repairs.
I see.
And the engineering firm is SLR Corporation, and formerly Milo and McBroom out of Waterbury, Vermont, and they're working on a design to repair the damage, but also to mitigate for future damage. So they're going to present their designs on the 27th at the select board meeting.
And that's Eagle Park then was where we would have hopefully a handicap accessible newly built picnic table.
Yes.
The Peace Memorial right on that same walk, and then the path hopefully would be smoothed out and you could just go right to the shore.
Can I add one more thing about Eagle Park?
Please?
It's real, the garden there is really invaded by sumac. If anybody's been up there.
I did see that.
It's growing
yeah.
about a third of the length
Yeah.
downstream,
Yeah, Jonah, you went to town on that sumac this spring.
and it's
Kinda
there's
ugly.
some of them
And
are
it's
very
back.
big. I mean, it's going to just eat up that whole garden unless somebody can do something about it.
Yeah, we don't want it to be renamed Sumac Park.
How big are they right now?
They're some of them that big,
Wow.
and that just happened. I mean, they were just in the past 2 or 3
Jono and
months.
Dave were pulling them out.
It was clean.
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah, we got back to the first pretty good sized tree, but the root system, I'm sure, just, you know, had all sorts of suckers and
Thanks, Dave.
saplings
See ya.
that were.
Wow.
You know, I think with it being so wet, I've noticed, you know, such inordinate excessive growth in well, pretty much I guess it was August, which we had. You know, there was a lot of rain, right? A lot of rain in July,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden it seemed like stuff was growing out of control. You know, starting early August.
So, Kristen, the fishing platform, does that mean we have 2 bids? Because we need 2 bids. We could do something? Is that right? I just
No.
want to keep track of what's happening.
No.
There was 1 bid? I just can't remember.
The details, I think, would be best for us to tune in on the September 27th meeting
That sounds good.
for those details. There's a long history, and I don't think
Okay,
we
that's
have
fine.
time to go into all that.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So they're going to come to the select. We're at the point now where they're going to talk to the select board, and they're going to show some ideas of what they can do, and then
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And so FEMA is on board. Valerie is helping to coordinate everything.
Oh, that's
so
great.
you know, if for the details, you could go back to the many select board meeting notes
I know, right? Just
or
wondering.
the future select board meeting notes.
Will they set a time frame at that meeting as to installation, or depends
Oh,
on
time frame
which-
for the work or for the
Yeah.
meeting itself?
Yeah, for the work.
For the work, yeah, they'll set a time frame. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, one option or the other might be more involved. We'll find out.
Yep.
Great. Okay, let's see what else. Anything else about Eagle Park? Any memorial updates?
I did a tree list, which I will give to Zilly.
For the management plan?
Yeah, I did a tree list of Memorial Park. I brought 3 copies, knowing not everyone would want one, but
And if you send me a digital one, I'll put it into the plan.
great. So can you give that to Zilly?
Yep.
It's not complete because some of them I'm not quite sure what species they are, so I either have to return when they're flowering or return when leaves are on the ground and I can see them instead of looking straight up. So it's tentative, but there's a healthy diversity. Some of these species, there's only 1 tree because it's clearly a hemlock sugar maple forest, but there's a couple other things as well.
Cool.
So
When you mention there's only 1 tree, does that mean it's just likely to have more that over time as a sort of a small grouping, or is it
well,
just
one of
that's
them
unusual?
that I only saw one is buckthorn. I probably should have noted which ones are
That's good, because that's an
non-native.
invasive.
Exactly.
Oh.
And
Should we
so,
pull it out?
Yeah, but there's only one. Now's the time to get it.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let
I
those
think
berries
everything
get
else is
going.
native. Yeah.
Wow, well that's a good sign. Higher up on
Yeah.
the mountain, maybe you saw that.
I forgot to bring the map to show the demarcated boundary.
Right.
So I was kind of just wandering around, and this is conservative,
Okay, you're right.
but I will go back with the map.
Yeah.
Great job.
Awesome.
I'm not used to being organized, so I'll have to make 2 trips.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, let's kill that buckthorn though, right? Now's the time.
I'm happy to get it next time I'm there. I know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Bring
Yeah.
some clippers.
Kill that
Yeah.
sucker. Yeah.
Was
that
it
sounds
fairly
good.
small?
Yeah.
Not buried out yet?
I don't know. Didn't
Yeah.
have fruits when I saw it,
Oh,
but it
good.
is pretty small.
Good. Wow, just a lone
And
buckthorn.
right on the edge where you would think it would
Oh,
be.
nice.
Right.
That could be like a really good catch, right?
Yeah.
Over there.
No
That's
one
good.
will notice its absence. And I'll cross it off. Okay.
That's
Thanks for-
fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, Sycamore. There was some discussion of a disc golf course, possibly, that Meredith had called me about, and then Michelle Gilbert, you were also interested in that. Did Meredith talk to you about that idea as well?
Sure. Yeah, I know. Just from what I've been told about the idea and the project is sort of like right now it's working with the school. So the school does have a course around Mount Abe. And it goes like around the whole entire property, and it's got a very rudimentary kind of like map and I don't know what you call it, scorecard, I guess, like for each hole, however many par it is. It from my anecdotal experience, it doesn't get used a ton, and I think the thought is that it's just kind of really boring and straightforward as far as disc golf courses go. It's just kind of like an open field, and you can see one and then the other and then the other, and you're just kind of going from place to place.
It's
so
pretty small.
No dog legs.
You can be right in the middle of the Japanese novel.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the thought. Was like so.
Lose all
if
your
you're
discs.
really intentional, about the design of it, it can look really cool. An example would be the CVU course. So it's way in the back, and it actually like goes up the little hill that's behind CVU, and then comes back down. I've played it before. It's great. We don't have that kind of elevation change to incorporate into the course. It would be a little bit more flat and spread out, but it would definitely, again, like just kind of spitballing here, would be more interesting than the Mount Abe course. So the thought is that like you could use some of the existing, the tree stands and just the natural sort of look of Sycamore Park and create a more interesting course. I believe that Meredith is looking for purchasing like a temporary basket, I guess you would call it, which is what you try to throw the disc into, and then use that as a jumping off point to maybe test out some distances, and I'm not an expert. I play like, I don't know, once or twice a year, so I would not be a great person to consult, but I think it would be fairly easy enough to find someone in the area who could lend their expertise.
Is there any concern about securing that type of apparatus when it's up? Because I've seen them, they look like basketball hoops with a chain sort of below, and the people just go around like, oh, I'd like to have that in my backyard. Or
well, so there's two types, right? There's a temporary, which is just like you fold it out and then set it up, and then there's the permanent type. So like the Mount Abe one is like a permanent. It's just like a
cement.
Cemented in, a pole in the ground. So it's fully permanent. So that one you can't pull out. But the temporary one you could. So the temporary one wouldn't necessarily be used to like test on the public necessarily. It would be used to just like, again, like map out the course. So like if I put it here and I start this hole here, does that make sense? And then like how many of those could we realistically fit in? But so once it's there, it would be permanent. It would be, dig a hole, cement, plop it in, make sure it's plumb and everything, and then it's there.
I wonder how that affects the multi-use aspects of that park, because you wouldn't want to necessarily locate it, right in the middle of a sort of area that the lawnmower's got to go around, and other people are like, oh, this would be nice, but there's post with a
and honestly, like the ones that are designed the best are meant to work with the land the way it is. It's not meant to like take over the entire park and say now this is a disc golf park. It's supposed to you're supposed to be able to walk by it, not necessarily be like, oh my gosh, there it is. It's just kind of like tucked away, perhaps. Again, it might be something that you use it as a way to clear out this big stand of knotweed or whatever, and then you put the basket there. So that's a potential. But you would when they design it, whoever designs it, however they design it, would want to make sure it's not blocking any access to properties, or like when the lawnmowers come through and stuff. They want to make it like work well with those other groups that need the park. And it would stay there in the winter too. So if there's winter sporting, like if it's right on somebody's cross country ski loop, we have to be aware of that. And so we don't want to block anything with these baskets potentially. So, but that is a good consideration.
The other consideration is that park was bought out after the 1998 flood, with the stipulation that it not be developed.
Yes.
And I think there are exemptions for recreational structures, especially minor ones like that. But we'd also want to be aware that that park is designed to allow the river to overtop it whenever it wants to. And And so if one of the posts was in the way of the river, it's too bad.
Yeah, the river would win, and it would either come down or it would get like washed away or something. Yeah, I fully support that idea, and that was one of my concerns when the idea was brought to me. Was hold on, I thought we couldn't build anything at Sycamore Park because it floods every so often, and therefore we might spend all this time and money, and then it gets washed out. So, yeah.
The deed restrictions are in the management plan, so
Okay.
we could carefully review those to better understand what exemptions might be allowed for recreational equipment.
Right.
Like the example they often give is like a kiosk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have a kiosk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also in the design of a course like that, we'd want to be aware of where the river has overtopped in the past and avoid those locations.
True. Very true.
So have you worried about maintenance as well, right? Like how do they mow around these ones?
Mm-hmm.
Is there enough cement at the base that you can kind of go over it? Or if it's really close, we've seen they go around quite a bit.
Yeah, that would be my concern, is that just their track record at Sycamore Park is very much avoid any little notchy area and just go right past it, let it grow up. So yeah, that would be a concern. I don't know how much they weed whack. I'm sure they do enough, but those are the types of posts where you need to skirt it and then you need to come back and weed whack around it so you don't have big, huge growth coming up the basket sort of pole.
Is there a recognized group, or is this just a sort of an idea that's floating out there? Because I mean, if you can enlist that group to provide some regular maintenance, just like the bike club takes care of trails, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, that would be that's a great thought, because right now there is not, that I know of.
Yeah.
There is general groups like in Vermont. There's you can find sort of disc golf courses being like kept track of. I forget the name, but it's more statewide, and so that's where the community. That's what I suggested as well when Taylor brought up the idea, is that like we need to get a champion from that group to join in with us, because again, I know very little about disc golf, and I wouldn't want to get in over our heads committed and then realize that like people will still just go to CVU when they're in this area, like or Middlebury, or I don't know enough about the region and the courses in the region to know what we're competing with, because if that one's not being used, we need to be way better than that and have like marketing or I don't know, like it would be a big part of how the park is sort of sold to the public. Like we have to make it known. I mean, people sometimes live in Bristol and don't even visit Sycamore Park at all, and they know where it is, but they just don't go there. So that would be a challenge. That would be part of it. So
yeah, I just think all that stuff has to be justified.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It sounds like a really interesting idea as a way to use sort of that strange parcels, and there's some strange landscaping that could be cool.
Yeah,
but
right.
there's a lot of other unanswered questions too, I think.
Right. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I,
Intermittent water courses.
can I add to this conversation?
Sure.
I'm Michelle Gilbert from Rise Vermont, and I work within communities to do a lot of recreational things. And so I had approached Meredith a couple months ago because I said, do you know anything about the high school disc golf course? I know it doesn't get used. I lived here for years. And so I just want to say, I've been gone for 3 years. I moved away. I was here for 29 years. I went to Sycamore Park just this week. Oh my goodness, it's lovely. Absolutely lovely. And when I walked there, when I was there when my kids were really little, it was just kind of, it felt like a little abandoned spot. And we went there because the water was really shallow and they could wade around, and it was kind of cool. And when I went there Wednesday, it looked like someone cared for it. You could see the bluebird. I mean, I just want to say how lovely it was. There was birdhouses, and it just looked like somebody really cared for it. So I just want to start there. So anyway, so back to Meredith and I's conversation. So we had been in contact with the school to find out do they use the course? Do they see the public on it? The school And basically, the problem with the course is there's no tee boxes. So the baskets are there. So if you've got your discs, you don't know where to start. You don't know what the yardage is. So there's not really a way to keep score or anything like that. So one of the issues is, and this is leading up to my next thing, one of the issues is, again, they don't want to mow around things. So we've been talking about, is there a way to do mats to make tee boxes that could be mowed over, and then maybe put some yardage markers in the ground, maybe have the school participate, like the art class, do something that could be embedded, some artwork thing that can be embedded and say. So there's ways to make that more interesting. The PE classes do use it. When I was here just what's today? Oh, it was yesterday. When I was here yesterday to walk the course, there was some kids, they must have had, pick what you want to do today because it's a gorgeous day in PE, because there were some kids doing disc golf and there were some kids out on the track and this and that. So anyway, long story short, I wanted to see from Meredith if there was some way Rise Vermont and myself could help. The wonderful thing about disc golf is it appeals to many ages. And there's a group that I meet with called the Five-Town Partnership. It's kind of a faith-based organization here in town, but there's service groups involved. And they were kind of looking for a way, like, how can we get families involved in some projects? So disc golf really does appeal to, 6-year-olds and all the way up through seniors, because you don't have to be particularly athletic to do it. And people find a lot of joy in going to different courses, and the ones in the woods and the ones with high tee boxes. So some are quite interesting. So they can be kind of destinations. Oh, let's play over here and let's play over there. So my original thought was, what's wonderful about the Mount Abe course is it's close, and people, if we make it so that it could be a usable space and make it a little more interesting, then kids could ride their bikes over. And Meredith talked about buying the movable basket, so that maybe they could have it here at the hub and the kids could practice, and then they could wander out and use some of it. So there, I think it's kind of one of these up and coming sports that people are really kind of taken to. And now with COVID and everything, there's a lot of reason to make our outdoor facilities as kind of usable as possible. Sycamore Park. So in talking to the high school, Meredith and I thought we might do some intro classes to disc golf, and Rise Vermont would provide a stipend to somebody to teach. And so we asked the PE teacher if he could do it, and he couldn't do it over the summer. So I was kind of doing some outreach and reached out to my Rise Vermont co-worker up in St. Albans, and she says, oh, I know a guy who designed the Hardak course. It's their recreation field, and there's a little ski mountain there, I guess. So anyway, so I contacted him. He was all very excited. So he was the one that came and walked the course with me Wednesday. And then I told him about the Sycamore Park possibility. So he's like, well, let's go see that one. So I have this resource of this man who's designed a course, and he would help with the design for free. And he knows someone that's in, like, he lives in California. He's moving back home to Middlebury. I guess he's quite a golfer, and he would also be kind of the local advocate that could get things going. So I just wanted to come here and say all that. But if there is some momentum behind this project, I would love to be involved. And I think Rise Vermont could provide some funding. Well, I'm going to start with, I think, Matt's over here, because I think no matter what, even if there was another course, to have something here in town that is local and accessible to all these other things makes sense if we can kind of make it more interesting.
Great.
And then I'd love to host some intro classes and just get people out here to play, and try to involve maybe these Five-Town Partnership and these church groups, and just have some kind of free things. And then if and when it works for you guys, if you wanted to do this course, I would love to, at least give you this man's, name and reference, and have him. He was very excited. He says, again, he said it wouldn't be like you have any high or low tee boxes, but he says it's a very interesting, and it lends itself well to disc golf. He also said that, I said, well, do you have to worry about, like, if somebody was out here picnicking or something, if, do are they going to be like this with frisbees? And he said that it would kind of be a short course. He thinks they could fit 9 holes.
At Sycamore Park.
At Sycamore, yeah. He said it would be. He said you're not talking a large yardage holes. So you'd be able to see where you're throwing, so it wouldn't necessarily have kind of the danger factor. So, but it's something to consider because it would bring, you know, potentially groups of people in, and it might change the flavor. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I and Rise Vermont would love to help if this is something that the community would like. And I think we'll probably, since we have the high school's blessing, to kind of proceed and figure out how we can make this course more usable and more interesting. I think that could work. There's some nets that need to be, like one of the boxes is behind the new backstop, and there's a shed next to it when the cages. So it's like, so that's a what, 18 part? So but and the and to just speak to the cages, they have different types. They have one where you can put a sleeve in the ground and then have a little lock to anchor the basket in, and that way if you wanted to remove baskets
for the winter,
for the winter, or if
Change the course.
Flood season.
yeah, or if, right, or if I mean, you know, so and these he thinks to the older style that are just kind of like a big concrete thing that's, you know, sunk, and but anyway, there's lots of there seems like some enthusiasm, and I just wanted to say I'd be happy to help with all that.
Great.
Did they ever consider, instead of what you described as mats for this tee-off area, like flagstones, or just making it more of a natural type of
oh, you can do
environmental...
you can do anything. The idea is that you know, cost, and the mats are easy to mow over, and then you don't get like weeds and stuff coming up. I guess you could mow over flagstones, but again, it's probably the cost is the reason this man suggested mats. But it's not that it has to be like that. I'm just kind of gathering information to see.
Maybe a
what
local
possibly
nursery or Livingston's might be willing to help defray or donate some of that cost, but
yeah,
I just
but then
think-
you have to have somebody that knows how to put them on a flat space and all that too. So I think it's just
that's
more complicated.
fairly easy.
But, okay, I'll put you down.
Well, the reason I mention it is because Sycamore Park, I just know from being on the Middlebury Land Trust, you know, some people want the trail wide as a highway, other people want it, you know, single file because they just want to be immersed in nature. So you have these divergent interests, and you got to find that, you know, happy balance, right? And so the more natural looking I think it was, the less off-putting it might be, instead of seeing some sort of synthetic mat and all these other, you know, pole obstacles that people are just trying to enjoy the park for a different reason that they're there. So you have to find how they can blend a little bit better.
And that's all, you know, certainly stuff that could be decided by whoever takes over this project. That was just one way, he said, to easily kind of fix this area.
Sure.
If we wanted to.
Well, it'd be great too to see what you do here, think about how we could move in the future.
Yeah, if there's, like I said, I think there's.
It's good to know the resources are available.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So, and that there seems to be a little interest in. And he also said that when you go to Sycamore Park, if you go to the left, you can go to that picnic table near the river. And that little area was probably one of the higher used areas of the park, I would assume, because the picnic table's there. So you could avoid that area completely, because the course could wind towards the right, and it looks like it has kind of a natural loop, and which is more interesting than kind of having it be so that the whole course is seen from wherever you're standing, kind of like this.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Entering flying disc area.
Yeah, yeah. He said at Hardack, he says they do have one space where there's also a trail, so they put up a sign saying, "Watch for flying discs." Actually, which again does change the flavor of your park. But I'm just here to say that if anything gets going like that, I'd love to be a part of it.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Great.
I'm going to stay as you finish the parks, and then I'll go.
Yeah, and then anything else about Sycamore? Helen, did you go to a meeting at Sycamore?
I did.
And if I could just interject, when we've had discussions about landowners' plans for selling lands, we often talk in generalities to protect their privacy.
Fine.
Or even go into executive session.
Right. I think I can be pretty general because the take-home messages were pretty simple.
Okay.
should I even mention the current landowner who's selling? Maybe not.
Nope.
So there's the owner of the western, that very western part of the park, is selling his land. And the concern was he's been using a right-of-way through the park to access that land, which is the only way to get to that.
Is it unbuilt upon?
It is unbuilt upon.
Okay.
He said it floods every 3 years or so there's really no point in building. But that gate, I don't know if you have seen the gate at the parking lot, that is there for his access. And he's done a good job at keeping that right of way. It's subtle, it's not paved, but he does drive on it to get to his land. Okay, so he's selling. He will not sell to the town, nor will the other buyer. So one thought was, could the town buy that? I think it's 7 acres, 7-acre piece of land, and it's not available. So really there were two questions. One was, the right-of-way comes with that piece of land, but the buyer has access from another part and doesn't really need that right-of-way. We don't know. We don't know what their plans are. So one hope would be that they do not want the right-of-way and the town could buy the right-of-way from him, from them. I guess it's a gendered thing, it's a him. So it depends on, so I'll just leave it at that. So one possibility might be that the town could buy the right-of-way rights from him so that, I don't know what we would have to do with the gate, but we could just make it so that there are no longer vehicles moving through that piece of property. Or he may want that access and we're kind of stuck with that. I think it's his call. I don't think the town can now step in and say, with this transfer of property, we're going to change the rules.
Opportunity for question?
Yep.
Was there a reason given why the seller or the potential buyer was not interested in selling to the town?
I will not talk about that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All
it's
right.
not a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah. Even like an easement or something?
We can talk about it later. But the first issue that I wasn't prepared for. So it was me, the current landowner, Meredith, was there, and the lister was there, and several surveyors were there. And the surveyors were prowling around in the weeds trying to find stakes, and the current landowner said, so here's the deal. The property boundary, the eastern property boundary that butts up against Sycamore Park, is not well defined. That he said it was a handshake deal, and I assume it was between him and the previous owner, where that boundary is. And there are no stakes. So he was saying, can we just decide? Can the four of us just stand here and decide where we want to put the boundary? And I said, well, I don't have the right to do that. Meredith, do you? And she said, no. And the lister said, no. And so we said, well, why don't we propose something? That gets written down. I don't know who it's proposed to. He said, this is not final, but we decided that tentatively the boundary will be where there is a line of trees. I mean, you could see the park ends and then it becomes kind of wild. The road goes in, but it's wild. So we said, well, how about
Wasn't there a demarcation of some sort of a cable across?
Well, there's kind of two places.
Oh, two?
And the one I'm talking about is the one that we ended up saying, why don't we make it
furthest
here?
east?
The furthest east.
Okay.
Then there's one that goes west maybe 50 feet. There's another old fence. Looks like there might have been something there.
Oh.
So what we stood there and talked about. Well, we thought, well, what good would it do for Sycamore Park to own this 50 feet?
Yeah.
You can't access the river because it's very, very steep.
It's a narrow area.
And it's just scrubby stuff that you have to, So Meredith and I and the lister said, well, why don't we just put it here? So at some point, you'll hear. I don't know how this works. You sent the wrong person on this.
Send in a proposal.
It's really a matter for the surveyors to decide, and the lawyers representing the town and lawyers representing the current owner.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's great that you were there though to kind of suggest options, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of us really have the wherewithal or the right.
I used to walk
make
around with
those decisions.
survey stakes and just pop them here.
Well, you missed this one. Let me just tell you. So now there's flagging there
Okay.
and some survey stakes, and it'll be proposed to lawyers, I guess, to decide.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. I thought we were just going to talk about the right of way, and instead we were being asked to define
The boundary.
the boundaries.
Right then and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take out some pipes.
Have you spoken to Valerie?
No.
I would relay your conversations, or maybe Meredith has. I don't know. One of the two of you should speak to Valerie because it's a town matter, really. So.
Right.
Okay. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for making the meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elise.
It was fascinating.
Great. Sycamore River access, anything up there? This is the longest we've ever talked about parks, by the way. It's almost 7.
Oh, Saunders River?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
nothing to report.
Okay. Then I think we're going to call it for this incredibly long parks discussion, and then we can move back to
Approving the minutes from
to
last
addition of items to the agenda. The only thing we had is possibly an executive session. We decided not to add executive session, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just move on from that then. So we will not add that. Review and approval of minutes from July 8th.
I don't believe I was here, so I can't.
Would anyone like to make a motion about those minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
I
great.
abstain.
The minutes are approved. Donna would like to officially abstain. Correspondence. A couple just minor, like that
Remember
one
an
maybe.
email?
Yeah. Okay, old business, Conservation Commission membership. Someone from, so moving to the area wanted to join, but they didn't live in Bristol. They lived somewhere else in the 5 towns. So I directed them to join the
Their own
appropriate
town.
commission. Yeah, exactly. But that's the only thing I've had in the last month or so. Any additions to that? Great. Bristol Trail Network, item B here. I wrote a building communities grant letter of support in July that was addressing, I believe it was Memorial Park. Same thing we'd written a year ago to say, can we do something there? So that's the only update I have. That was personal. Yeah, do you have anything?
Just a correspondence with Porter about it's going back to Sycamore Park, about the wood chips. Near the entrance. And so she mentioned that she feels bad that they're still there because it had them brought there and there were too many. So I said that's totally fine. Our plan was to try to incorporate them into the trails, and then she was good with that. And she also mentioned that she has another intern who works, like a 2-day-a-week thing.
She's a fall intern.
Yeah, a fall intern that we could loop in for a volunteer work day or something like that, who would be willing to help us out move chips. So
Right now, they kind of just bolster the wall.
Right.
Or between the boulders.
it's not the worst pile of wood chips you've
it's
ever
fine.
seen.
It can be there for quite a while.
Exactly. It's not that big. We haven't had any complaints. We haven't had any reports of people nabbing them and putting them in the back of their truck or anything. So I think it would be good to get them where they're supposed to be eventually. But we shouldn't try to.
And there's new gravel there since our last meeting, right?
Yeah. I was going to mention that they did regrade the parking lot. It's way better. It's not perfect, but like the transition between the driveway and the parking lot is way better, leaps and bounds better. And so that was kind of just like shot in the dark. Ended up working, getting a hold of Peaker, who got a hold of Eric, who finally decided to help. Get the wheels in motion. It was just like a perfect storm of everything worked, and the next week they were working on it. So it's, unfortunately, I don't know if we learned any special way to get things done like that in the future, but other than keep telling people that this needs to be done.
Squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel, yes, exactly. So, and it looks great. You know, like they did a good job. I don't believe they added a ton more new gravel. I think they just regraded. You know, like I haven't been there since it rained heavily. So I don't know if, you know, we still have big puddles. My guess is there are probably still puddles, but there's no like bottom out craters.
Would you
that
by
people will
any
complain
stretch
about.
say it's slightly crowned? Because that's the ideal.
Right.
Then water sheds off. Where
Exactly.
water pools, then you start getting all those potholes. And
Yeah.
It's not crowned.
No, I believe it's the same. Yeah, I think we kind of reset the clock back to when it was first graded like that. So we're going to end up with probably the same thing in several years. So that would be a long-term thing to talk about is how can we make get the money or get the approval or whatever to fully, you know, like crown it and manage the runoff that occurs, because I think the big issue that happens is you get this huge puddle between the parking lot and the river, in that park, and so that whole area people have to either walk around or walk through, and so, you know, like I said, I think we bought some time with this regrading, but didn't solve the problem.
Well, and also material goes into tire treads and gets taken out.
Yes.
You know, constantly when you have those puddles, so it just worsens the problem.
True.
Okay, so are there any work days or anything planned with that intern? Or maybe in case there's something with the mulch, a mulch day or something?
Yeah, I don't think that's part of his like project, but I think he'll be put onto that if we bring it up to him or to Porter.
Okay, great. Anything else about trails? All right, moving on. Illegal dumping sites. I think Alex was the one who was following up with Sergeant Elmore, so we'll just wait until he can be here to inform us about that next. I think we can just table that for now. Website Explore Bristol PDF. Any updates from Alex?
Yeah, I did add a few more links. Last meeting we had talked about adding some links for fishing. So in the water sports, there's now 4 new links.
Nice.
There's stuff about equipment rentals. There's like a general VT fishing guide. This is all like Fish and Wildlife that put it out. VT fishing regulations, and then the stocking schedule. That was another thing we talked about. So,
that's right.
and I think that was the main area that we added to it. The document looks pretty much the same. It's just a few more bullets, a few more links about something.
Are you feeling good about it? Like we should post this? We should start cross-posting this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good about it. I would, I guess my last step would be then to send this out one more time, and if people wanted to, you know, go through it, I can double check all the links and make sure they're not going to, you know, nowhere or the wrong place. Yeah, so the first page of this PDF is the summary with a bunch of links, and then the following pages has more about hiking. So like it's got the Bristol Trail Network page, and then the Bristol Trail Network map, and then it's got some information about the Watershed Center, and then we go into, you know, like Sycamore Park has its own page, so and then some area trails. But I think, yeah, it's ready to be sort of given last looks, and then we can go.
Could you just email that around, and we'll make that like a little bit of homework for next time to look that over. Okay. Moving on. Edith, stock trust. Sam, what are you going to call about apples?
Yes, I can't remember the name of the guy. I looked back through all the stuff, all the notes, and I can't find it. Does anyone
Probably
remember?
have it written down somewhere.
Who are you looking for?
He was a guy in East Middlebury.
Was it East
And he
Middlebury?
lives south of the Middlebury River crossing. There's like an apple place. Like if you Google mapped it, it might even pop up as so if you were on Route 7 heading south from Middlebury, past the turnoffs to East Middlebury, you cross the Middlebury River, and you come up a little rise, and there's an apple guy there. That's who he is.
Okay.
I don't know the name.
Well, then
but
I can definitely locate it.
You can also ask, is it George?
George Vince knew his name.
He would
Oh, that's right.
But why do you want to find this guy's name?
No,
So this is the person who currently has cared for the apple trees in Sycamore Park with the money from the trust. So our idea is to get a sense of what he does and see if we want to continue that, if we want to alter it, if it's, you know, or if we want to
Get some background.
find out. So I'm gonna do
They look
that now
really
that I've
good.
figured
I was
it
gonna
out.
say it's gonna be apple season soon.
Mm-hmm.
Should apparently it's just rotting in place for the birds, but you don't think the birds even eat the apples. So should we offer? Should we make an event? Should we offer people can take them? Should we do something with these apples that the town is paying to grow? I don't. Or are they for the birds and the health of the ecosystem?
Well, I thought
don't-
it was
don't know the
funny
answer.
that Edith Trust was to support birds, and it was spent on apple trees, which birds are so minimally involved in. I mean, some birds might eat the pollinators of the flowers.
Right.
But you know,
Yeah.
there's not
I
much.
like cedar
And-
waxwings eat apple blossoms.
Good. I
There's,
didn't know
there's different
that.
birds that eat apple
That's good.
blossoms.
Okay.
And then they get a little bit drunk on them.
That's so cute.
I would think, I just went for a walk today where there were apples dropping, not on any of our properties, and there were lots of bees and wasps.
Yeah.
And it's kind of creepy.
Oh.
So I wonder if we can encourage people to collect apples so that we don't end up with piles of rotting apples that then attract insects that will
Right.
scare people away.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of critters there that will eat them.
I would
Bear.
think so. Squirrels.
Deer.
Well,
Deer.
deer
Yeah.
primarily.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
There's definitely deer evidence at Sycamore. Yeah, there was the front porch forum post of someone posted saying, "I would like to pick your crab apples."
right.
Yeah, so like
yeah.
I think if that would be something that I'm sure if people didn't already know, to
Well,
be like, oh,
they aren't crab apples.
right, exactly. These are
They're
like
good
perfectly edible. I don't know what kind. I mean, that would
I'm
be
not sure either.
yeah, that would be another question for the person
They
whoever's.
might
Well,
have a
when-
little scab and other stuff.
I think George Vince was going to be dropping off of several boxes, he said, of,
Yeah.
of notes and records about the Edith Stock Trust and what they've done
Mhm.
over the years there and why. So in those boxes, probably there's some answers to like what kinds of apples are
Mhm.
there and
But in the meantime, should we put something on Front Porch
We could,
Forum
yeah.
saying
help
the apple
yourself.
trees are,
Yeah, help yourself to a handful of apples.
yeah.
Like,
Eat at your own
like,
risk. Yeah,
we're like, I don't
hold
know
us
if like I don't know if like one person's gonna go there and harvest them all, or if that's okay. I don't know. Like, how do?
Yeah, there was one. I think I told the story before, but there was one time when a gentleman came to the Holly Hall office with bags of apples, saying, "Hey, I picked these at Sycamore Park. Do you want any?" And we were like, "Sure, I'll try one. It tastes good." But like, yeah, it was just like, and so.
Random, yeah.
Yeah, my guess is that Sycamore Park has been around. These apple trees have been around long enough where somebody or
Somebody
some
already
group
knows. Yeah.
I've always seen them, and my kids want them, and I'm like, stop it! Those are the parks. Like
Right,
I don't
they
know
belong
who they
to-
are,
yeah.
right?
So I think my suggestion or my proposal would be that we kind of see what happens to the apples
Yeah.
without a public
Okay.
information
That's a good idea.
message, and
Yeah.
if we see a bunch of really nice apples laying on the ground, end of October, then going forward we can try to post something once,
Okay.
every fall.
yeah, maybe because you're doing the walks on
Because I
Fridays.
do a
So
walkthrough
you could
every
just
week.
watch the apples, see what
Yeah.
the numbers look like,
Yeah.
if it seems like people are taking them or not.
Yes,
for
yeah, I
one
could definitely
year,
do that.
and-
Yeah.
Go
And,
from there.
lots of apples will have, some of my property have drops already
Gotcha.
for the last month. I have one tree that holds on to its apples into the first couple frosts, so
Mm.
there's a long
season.
Yeah.
long range there of, I don't know anything about those particular apples, but
Right.
see how that works out.
We had a deer eating our apples. It was like, oh, cute, let's look at the apples and the deer. And my daughter's almost 2 and started demanding to see an elephant. We're like, that's not how it works.
Impromptu circus down
I
there.
know. We're like, well, just one deer. That's all we get right now. Okay, any other Edith Stock Trust ideas, updates, discussion right now? Should we just wait to hear more?
I think I have 19 birdhouses I finally moved them from the farmhouse to another spot. So.
Should we do a birdhouse day? Do we want to schedule that over email for the next?
I wouldn't do it now. I would do it probably more to the spring because they'll end up with an extra wintering where they're just going to weather.
Okay, so maybe let's add that as something to bring up. What would you say? Should we start talking about it in February so we can do it in March? Is that the timeline?
March.
Or would it be more like
talk about it in March, do it in April.
Talk about it in March?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, when I put up birdhouses, you can put usually 2 screws into a post, and then theoretically, I guess I'm just too frugal, I would take the birdhouses, they were bluebird houses mostly, just take them down in the winter because they get a harsh wear and tear period over that winter, and so you just extend the life by probably twice by taking them down. It's not that arduous. Just take them down, screw gun.
Maybe if we talk about this in March to put birdhouses up.
Yeah.
And think about a way we could do it such that you could undo it quickly as well.
Yeah.
And then also maybe would that be a good time to do some apple tree, like amateur apple pruning? Would that be the right time?
That's a little late.
Yeah,
you want to do it
Yeah.
in
March
early
February.
February at the.
Okay, how about I'll put this note in February instead?
Yeah.
But it can be contingent on what the apple gentleman
That's right.
says.
That's true.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'll just put that.
We
I'm
did
gonna put
notice
a
that
reminder so it'll
Sure.
come up on our
Sure.
agenda
Right.
in a few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
Needs to be done next spring.
Okay, I'll just put a reminder to put on the agenda for February. We can always hop it to March. Perfect. Okay, great. Great. Okay, that's it for Edith Stock right now, I think. Correct? Good. Memorial Park Management Plan discussion. Just want to check in on various parts, see how that's going, and then that's it. That's all I have to say right now. The next note was the next item, so I didn't want to overstep. Okay, so any thoughts? Helen already provided us with the tree list, which is amazing.
I think
How
there was
else
going to
is it
be a
shaping
critter
up?
list. Was Alex going to work on fish or something?
Was he? Well,
I think he was going to fish there.
He has been fishing there a lot. Every
That's
time I
a
leave him
spot.
and Archer alone, they go there, they get a fish, and that's what they eat.
Okay.
So great, now he's fishing it out.
So he
Well,
can
there's
report
a-
back
He's an
on the
apex
fish.
predator.
Yeah,
Fish
he's been extremely impressed with the brook trout
Okay.
population.
Cool.
And
Brook
native,
trout.
not stocked.
Yeah.
That's
Which is
phenomenal.
great.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
size?
I don't know. They eat them before I get
8.
home.
Good enough to eat,
Archer
yeah.
can eat an entire fish.
It's
Like
nice
no
to
one gets
cuddle
any.
it, too, right?
Yeah, well, he's got to
Yeah,
cuddle
you gotta
it.
cuddle
and
the
then
fish.
he- Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
so
remind him
maybe
of that,
again,
make
that's
sure.
another check-in with Alex thing for
Yeah.
critter list.
Yeah, I've sort of lost track what the other sections were that we needed to fill in.
Yeah, we have sections that I just need to send to you.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay.
We did. We
Well, maybe
mentioned
what
D,
I'll-
E, and F.
What I'll do is send out a reminder of who was going to do what sections and have them send them to me. And then I'll
Great.
compile the next draft.
Okay, great. So that'll be another kind of homework assignment for next time.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on to, say, Sycamore, since there is some movement in that property, or are we not quite to that point? Should we just focus on Memorial?
For the
still?
plan,
For management plan update.
I thought maybe Eagle Park might be the next one to do, only
Okay.
because there is a plan for Sycamore and we don't have a plan for Eagle. So
Yes, that sounds good. Okay, so but for now, you think we're still on Memorial,
yeah,
not to put the cart before the horse.
ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Town Plan 2020, which is sort of what that has come out of. I don't know if anyone else has additional reports on tasks, but the Planning Commission has requested periodic updates from me, and Kevin Hansen sent me an email, and I looked it over, and we had written everything, because a lot of it's ongoing and things, so it was sort of vague as it was, so I just forwarded him our June progress update again for this month. I don't know if he's doing it by quarter or something, but...
Right.
So, just so you're aware, I just forwarded him, I said, basically it's the same as the June one.
Okay.
So, you know. But I'm not sure, he may keep checking in, and so we will want to keep
So we
this
have to
going.
do something.
Yeah!
Oh.
He wants us to be accountable and possibly every quarter, I'm not sure, check in and say, have you made progress? Have you made progress?
Got it.
Which isn't the timeline we usually work on, but maybe we'll have some progress then, which will be good for for the environment and the town. So just so you're aware, that's sort of on the planning commission. It seems to be on their radar that they want to keep going and not just like pass it, throw it in a drawer, pull it out in 5 years. They seem to want to be on it this time. I think you've been getting those updates too for Radcliffe. Okay, so that's what's happening with the town plan. And the last thing I have here is next meeting location.
It'll be dark.
It'll be dark. It's already getting dark. That's gorgeous, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
Can you get that in there?
Yeah, that's way more interesting.
Really pretty. Yeah, that's way better than our
audio.
It'll be dark and it'll be cold. I spoke to Valerie and she said that we cannot go straight to Zoom like we did before. One person for open meeting laws for the governor, you're allowed to be on Zoom now. It's a new world, but you have to have at least one member in a physical space. The physical space that they've been using is the conference room of Holly Hall in the basement, where we used to normally meet. Maybe you don't know that, but we used to years ago, eons. They have an OWL system now, which is a microphone camera that twists to look at whoever's speaking. So you could just sort of a high flex modality easier than trying to twist around your laptop and look at people and things. And then somehow the one person who's present needs to be there and then plug a laptop into the screen and then turn on this OWL system. And then it's supposed to be so you can have some Zoom participants, some physical participants. And that's supposed to work. But we have to have at least one person physically there for open meeting laws unless the governor comes up with new recommendations for COVID.
Wow.
At least one person.
At least one.
Not obviously all of us.
Right. And it's depending on personal health choices or how we feel. Valerie believes if you're all 6 feet apart with masks on, it should be fine. That was her recommendation, but we're not going to force anyone to come into a confined space against their will. So you can stay on Zoom if you're more comfortable, but that was the recommendation she had, was to move to there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's going to be dark, so.
Yeah.
It's probably the best option.
Yeah.
Well, and if there's this many people, we can be 6 feet apart. We almost are. Well, no, not quite.
But
we're also outside.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think, the numbers are changing all the time.
Yeah,
so
it's like a little unpredictable.
It's unpredictable,
what next
so.
month is going to look like.
My inclination is that going forward for at least for the cold, dark months, we should move back inside and at least one person will have to show up. And then people can, when we email the rough agenda, well, I always that rough draft agenda, maybe at that time, people could write in and say, oh, I'm going to be on Zoom this week or I'm going to be in person. And
Sounds good.
That works. Yeah.
I would like if we could all be in person, if we get more done, but and there's more camaraderie, but it's also easier on Zoom. I get that, and it's safer.
My guess is that the majority of us will make an attempt to be there, and then for whatever reasons there'd be some Zoom call-ins.
Yeah, I mean, John, I know you really like Zoom, so I know that's your.
No, that's why I missed the last one. I was in the. I almost totally flubbed it again today. I was kind of like, all right, 6 o'clock, and I was like, oh, wait a second, where is that meeting? And just like 2 days before, of course, I saw your, and I like parked it in my head, but there's like you have to get out of that Zoom mode a little bit because there's still some stuff happening, a lot less in the summer, but.
So I guess that means I'll have to start making a Zoom code as well. Oof. Okay.
Is it called the conference room? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And this is Howden Hall, not Holly Hall. Right?
No, Holly Hall. Basement of Holly Hall.
Okay.
The basement hall. Kind of like behind the offices, or if you go in that handicap accessible door in the back.
Yeah.
It's like right there.
In the basement of the town hall.
Yes.
Okay. Any new business we want to add? Is everyone okay with that? Are we done? I thought that we were done.
Yes.
New business? Anyone? New business? Okay. Any events? Not that I know of. Next meeting is October 14th, and it will be, there'll be a Zoom room set up, but then there'll also be a physical space. Okay, and then I think we can move to adjourn.
Just very quickly,
Yes.
we've never really had any involvement in the Harvest Festival, which I know is scheduled to go on this year.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing that.
We have obviously had a presence at Green Up Day,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if anything sort of town-wide other than that. I'm not really trying to add to the list of things to do
Like
or to.
Pocock celebration? Pocock?
Well, Pocock, I didn't think we were involved in whatsoever.
No.
Just Green Up Day.
See,
'cause
that's
that
what you
kinda-
got. You got to hand out sycamore apples at the
Yeah.
Harvest
Oh.
Festival.
Yeah.
Table.
Right?
Well, I
You
just
volunteer.
didn't know if, there was some, can't think of, I know with, again, the Middlebury Land Trust, they had an event that was scheduled usually in the middle of the third week in September. There's, an awareness to get on the trails because the conditions usually are good if you don't have some hurricane that just kind of dumps a lot of water. But it just occurred to me that, it's an opportunity. Of course, it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
That Harvest Festival. I've really enjoyed going to it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I really don't want to add anything else to what we do. I just thought I'd throw it out there as to an opportunity.
I mean, it is on the town green, right? And so that's a park, right? This is the Conservation Commission, so there's a connection there for sure. We'll be there. The Recreation Department will be there along with the Chamber of Commerce with our table, kind of near the bandstand. So, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to do something in the future, just let me know or let Meredith know, and then we can talk to Rob Carter, who's the president of the conservation or the Addison County Chamber of Commerce, and try to work something out. They were restricted on the number of vendors they could have this year just because of COVID. So there were some groups that or people that got squeezed out just because they had some fewer. They needed to add space between and spread it out and do a little bit of a different orientation this year. So, but it'll still be going on. September 25th. So.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago we thought, we should do something.
Right, like have a table or something to recruit new members.
By the time we thought of it was far too late, right? It was like this. It was at the September meeting, and they're like, you can't get in now, right? So
the time would be like before summer, like spring.
Wow.
To get your sort of email sent to the.
Okay, I'll add that to the February email reminder.
Yeah, because there's some groups that do just like a table that is meant for just like public information. Like we had considered doing that back in the winter.
That'd be the starter. Yeah.
Right. Well, like we had talked about it for Emerald Ash Borer. Yeah. Like, do we need to have a table at the Harvest Festival? And there's lots of people to talk about like information and stuff like that. And what we ended up thinking is like, okay, we can't. This is more for the businesses of the Addison County to get together and like have an event to provide their services. And if we are just handing out information, we could just have a ton of information at the recreation booth, and I can have EAB here, and I can have like our programs here, and I can just be passing out as much information as possible. And kill a bunch of birds with one stone, rather than have all these tables taken up by similar groups or groups that have overlap. Yeah. So, but that's a good thing to keep in mind, is that that's one of the bigger events.
Is it for like 10 to 4 or something like that?
Yep, 10 to 4. Yep.
Okay. I guess I should fairly try to ask the question, EAB?
Yeah. No new updates, no new big updates anyway.
Kind of a little hiatus.
I was told to table it until Alex told me to untable it.
Yeah, which was, so September is the cutoff for the flight season. So like we're not supposed to be taking down trees until the end of September. And then after that.
Do you want to talk about this October then? The agenda?
Yeah, October or November. Probably October is when I should provide another update.
Great, I'll add it to the agenda.
Yeah,
Cool.
Nothing new. But.
Do you need a motion?
I do.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Nikki seconds it. All those in favor?
After I held it up, I should definitely second it.
7:24.